Hey everyone, welcome to another video. We are going to discuss today luxury boutique etiquette. But specifically, because I have spoken about this before, you know, how to behave in a boutique. But I want to talk about how to behave in a boutique so that you get the best service possible, because I have an awful lot of you email me with just horror stories of bad service that you've been through in different boutiques. I don't think I've ever had anyone email me actually with a good experience, but that's always the case, isn't it? You go onto a review site, mainly the people that review things that can be bothered to review it are people that have had a bad time, not people that have had a good time. But a lot of you have said it's put you off either the boutique in question or the whole brand. You have said to me before, I've had one of you tell me about one particular brand, and you said, I really wanted this bag, I saved for it. It went so badly in store, so rudely in store, that I've decided I'm not going to buy from that brand, I'm going to buy from another one. So it can really affect us and how it makes us feel about a brand. But I've got some pointers that really work for me. I definitely feel like, well, it's true. When I first got into luxury, I was so nervous about going in store. And I have had experiences before, probably in some brands more than others actually, where I've found that the service universally has been unfriendly, and it's been quite difficult to find someone in that brand who's like sweet and nice person. And I don't know whether it's like a brand level thing, I'm not sure, because Dior is totally different. Like, they're a dream. So's Fendi, so's Gucci, and we're going to come on to like great brands in a minute. But here's the first thing to do. The first thing I would say is to be aware of your own attitude. So when I say this, I have been in boutiques before and I have witnessed some really rude behaviour from customers to salespeople. And I'm always very shocked by it and disappointed and upset for the salesperson when I witness it, where people are being bossed around and, you know, treated very disrespectfully, just like somebody in the service industry, really, you know, like, go and get me this, I want to look at that, how much is this? And it's not nice to see. And in those situations, I bet those types of people, if they received bad service, would be the first to complain about it, when actually it's because they got what they were given. You know, they were giving out bad vibes and they were getting them back. And it depends on the kind of salesperson that you get. For example, I'm someone who, if somebody's rude to me, I will very rarely be rude back. It's just not really in my nature. I'll just walk away and I'll be like, oh, whatever, you can get lost. I'm never going back to you again, but I'm not rude. So I would say, if you're somebody who's maybe quite assertive and you've been told it can come across as rudeness, just be aware of it, because as I say, it's you want to get the best service and you don't want to come away feeling like you've rubbed someone up the wrong way and therefore they've rubbed you up the wrong way on you know, as a response to your behaviour. So just be aware of it. And I don't think everyone knows they do it. That's the thing. But try and be aware. Okay, the next thing is to, if you can, call ahead. This will also give you more confidence when you go to a boutique, but it also gives you the name of someone that you can ask for when you get there. Now, not every brand will allow you to do this if you are not a customer. Some brands will, most won't, but if you have shopped somewhere before, even if you bought a card holder, sometimes they are more willing to book you in than others. Even if they won't book you in, if you phone up and say, make an excuse like, oh, I just want to check if you've got this bag in stock. Great, you've got it. Can I come to you when I come in store? What's your name? See what I mean? And this can really help you build a rapport with somebody off the bat. But it also gives you that confidence when you do walk in store, because you've got someone to ask to speak to. And you've already broken the ice because you spoke to them on the phone. The next point is, don't go behind the counters. I've seen this before as well. And it kind of, not always, but it can rub some salespeople up the wrong way because you're not meant to do it. If you go into a store and there are like shelves and there's cute bits on it, clothing, bags, fine. But if there are shelves and there's a counter in front of it, don't go behind the counter, particularly if there's a checkout, like a till on that counter. Ask to speak to somebody. and ask them to take that item off the shelf behind the counter and show it to you on the counter. The next thing I want to say is that everyone has a bad day. People go through things in life, whether it's a death, an illness that they've just found out about, a breakup. So many things, so many big things as human beings we all go through, and it can affect you obviously in work and your attitude, and maybe you're speaking to someone and they're a bit flat or a bit offish or a bit distant. I'm not saying that you should necessarily stick with that person if you're not gelling with them, but don't necessarily get irritated because you just don't know what that person's going through. And as I say, it's not about you being a walkover. It's if you are not feeling it, walk away, come back later and ask to speak to somebody else. If you don't want to do that, go into an entirely different boutique where you know you're not going to bump into that person again. But I would say that as well, we never know what people are going through. Of course, you do get people that are just plain rude and they're in the wrong job. They shouldn't be doing this job. But for the most part, you never know what people are going through. And then 3 final things. The first one that I think is quite important is to have a rough idea of what it is that you are looking at. And I feel like this is the case because if you walk in and you're just like, oh, I'm here because I kind of want a blue bag. What bags have you got that are blue? I'm not saying that doesn't work. It absolutely can. But I think it's a good conversation starter when you walk in and you say, right, this is the bag that I want to see. Can I have a look at it? And while we're at it, can I have a look at any other bags you've got that are blue? And I think that that's a really good way in, and it shows that you know your stuff. It shows that you're serious. It shows that you've done your research before and that you're not just like a fluffy person who's not necessarily going to buy anything. You've got your eye on that one particular bag, but you might be swayed by others. And definitely I would say this is a mistake I made years ago. I bought a bag that I've spoken to you about in a video, and I bought it because I felt pressured to buy it to prove myself. I was quite young at the time. I'd saved up money for a classic flap, but I didn't know the name, I didn't know it was called a classic flap, to be quite honest. And I ended up buying this other bag that I'd asked to look at because the person was quite unfriendly to me, and I felt as though she was I don't know, I got the feeling they were like, you're a kid and you haven't got the money. And I felt as though I didn't want to have wasted her time, so I bought this bag when I shouldn't have done. I should have asked to see what I wanted to look at, but I didn't know what it was called. So I definitely want to tell you all as well, don't be pushed into a sale. Even if you have gone there looking at one particular bag and then you sit in your real life and you're like, actually it's not what I dreamed of, walk away. And there's nothing wrong with walking away. However, if you buy something that you don't love, you will always regret it. Like, guaranteed you'll regret it. And then the final 2 points, the next one is to never feel scared of asking for the full treatment. If you want a glass of champagne, if you want a coffee, ask for it. If you're not offered it from the off, ask for it. What are they going to say? No. They're not going to say no. They're going to provide you with a beverage. So never feel worried about doing that. And then the final thing I want to say is also never feel afraid of walking away. We briefly spoke about this earlier, but if you are unfortunate enough to come into contact with someone who is rude, who isn't being very nice to you, and you feel awkward and you're like, I don't want to shop from you, walk away, make your excuses and go. And I normally prefer to go to a whole other store, to be honest. Although I will say I haven't really had like loads and loads of bad salespeople. I have had them, and again I spoke to you about Tag Heuer. That was a bad experience, but and also Balmain, that was a bad experience many years ago, and I've never actually been in there. I bought online. But apart from that and a couple of others, which I don't want to go into, yeah, they've all been really good. So where can you go that is really good? The first brand I want to say, and I know that there is some controversy going about this brand at the moment, but Dior is just like one of the best brands for customer service. I feel as though when I walk in Dior, I've been into Geneva, I've been into Hong Kong, I've been into Paris, I've been into London. Every single Dior I've been into, the customer service has been the same, universal. Everyone's really sweet. Everyone's so friendly. You don't feel as though they're like looking at you going, oh, you're not going to buy anything, I'm not going to bother with you. They might be thinking it, I don't know, but you never get that sense. And you know what it does? It makes you want to spend, because you're like, oh my God, you're so lovely. You're making me want to buy into this brand. And I almost feel like there is some sort of guidebook or handbook universally that all the staff train on, because everyone's attitude is the same all over the place. They're all so lovely. So Dior's really great. I really love Dior in Harrods. Well, I love all of the Dior boutiques. What am I saying? They're all really nice, but I always go to Dior in Harrods, just because that's where my salesperson is, Enrique. The other amazing brands are Gucci. Really, really recommend Gucci. Again, they're another brand that when I've been into Gucci stores, it doesn't matter where they are, everyone's always been very nice and very friendly and very helpful. And when I say really nice, I mean like so lovely. And I don't know whether this is something to do with the fact that the brand is Italian, because I'm going to talk about Fendi in a minute. And I find with these Italian-owned brands, there is a sense of family in these boutiques that you don't often see in other boutiques. So, like, there are other brands I can think of where it comes across as very sales-led, whereas in some of these Italian boutiques, you don't get that. It feels more wholesome than that, even though, of course, sales is part of it. Like, everyone needs to eat, you know what I mean? So Gucci's great. I really like Gucci and Harrods. I like all of them, but Gucci and Harrods is where I go to, and yeah, that's another good one. And then another one of my favourites is Fendi. I really like Fendi and Harrods. I tend to shop in Harrods because it's where I park the car. You get the points, and everyone in there's lovely. And Fendi and Harrods is just brilliant. First floor, they're all lovely in there. They're all lovely in there. But again, it feels like family. If you walk in and you have no customer history, you will get taken seriously. They've got the time of day for you. I always find in Fendi and in Gucci and in Dior, if someone's having a bad day, they seem to cover it. They seem to hide it really well. You don't get that sense, and they're all so friendly and will give you that service that you're after. So there's some of my favourite brands. As I say, I have been into brands before where the service has been like either rude or dismissive or just not very nice. I have spoken about some of those brands before. I don't necessarily want to like go down that route though of like doing a whole video on it, because I feel like that's quite negative, even though I've like told you little bits over the years about things that have happened. But they're some of my favourite brands, the ones that I think are really worth it, and just some of my tips on how to get great service. If you are watching this and you're like, oh, there's this other thing that I do that pretty much always guarantees great service, and you feel like I've missed it out, leave it in the comments below, because I would love to read this and just get some more tips from all of you. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.